market and how it will impact us right here at home.
Locking operations resumed at the Willow Island Locks and Dam on the Ohio River overnight. According to the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, 8 vessels locked through after significant ice accumulation on the lock chamber walls, and the chamber doors forced them to suspend locking on January 28th. They said they will monitor resumed operations closely. And a pedestrian died this morning after being struck by a CSX train in Charleston. Police say the incident occurred around 11 a.m. in Canal City near Chesterfield Avenue and Courtney Drive. Charleston police are investigating. From the Metro News.
Metro News Sports. Good afternoon. I'm Joe Mercado. The Marshall men's basketball team will host a 22-0 Miami of Ohio team on Saturday, but before that contest, the Thundering Herd will host Southern Mississippi tomorrow night. At the midway point in league play, Marshall is 6-4 in the Sun Belt, a game and a half behind league-leading Troy.
Now it's about going out and executing. It's not going to get any easier. You know, Southern Miss, super physical team, experienced. Just beat James Madison. Again, we have another opportunity to protect home court. Thought we had a pretty good practice today. We'll look at having one tomorrow to give us opportunity to win on Wednesday.
That's Marshall head coach Corny Jackson. Check out a game preview of tomorrow night's contest against Southern Miss at WVMetroNews.com. The Marshall women's basketball team hits the road today in advance of tomorrow's matchup at South Alabama. The Herd is a game and a half out of first place in the Sun Belt. Logan High School graduate Peyton Ilderton entered the program 4 years ago as a walk-on, but she has become an every-game starter for the Herd in her senior season.
My family gets to come to every single game. They haven't missed a home game, so just having that piece of home here too has been something that's really special to me. And I hope that one day, once it's all said and done, that I can contribute to Marshall in some way past my years here. So it's definitely been amazing, and I'm so thankful for this place and what it's done for me.
You're listening to Metro News. For 40 years, the voice of West Virginia.
Hi, I'm Chris Waddell, Principal and Office Lead for Martinsburg for CEC. After serving in the military, I found my home in Martinsburg. Traveling across the states, I've always wanted to serve my community. At CEC, I get to do just that. Our core values, clients first and we own it, resonate with my mission-driven background. We solve problems by listening and collaborating, and as an employee-owned firm, we take pride in every project that we do. At CEC, we engineer progress in the great state of West Virginia.
Find out what CEC can do for you. Visit CECinc.com.
Brighten your mornings with Tudor's $5 sunrise specials. Enjoy our Mary B, egg, crispy bacon, and cheese on our buttery biscuit, loaded with more bacon than the rest. Or try the Ron, featuring a bigger, hearty sausage patty topped with egg and cheese on a biscuit so delicious you will savor every bite. Each combo comes with crispy hash browns and your choice of coffee or iced tea, all for just $5. Warm up winter mornings with this hot deal. Available for a limited time.
In girls high school basketball last night, defending state champion Wayne picked up a solid road victory in a 73-57 triumph at Buffalo. Jace Salmons led the Pioneers with 31 points, and 4 players scored in double figures.
We didn't play as well defensively in the first quarter, but I thought we played better as the game goes on. But that's just playing time, and I think sometimes when you don't have games and big stretches, that happens sometimes.
That's Wayne head coach Wade Williamson. Check out a recap at WVMetroNews.com. For Metro News Sports, good afternoon. I'm Joe Mercado.
ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930 present The Drive.
It is Tuesday, February 3rd. Your drive begins now on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. I want to get that text line going early because I've got a pair of tickets to give you for the game tomorrow between Marshall and Southern Miss. So I want to get that going as soon as we can. 304-396-TALK. That is 304-396-8255. Of course, the Thundering Herd taking on Southern Miss. We're going to have that game for you tomorrow. If you can't get out, looking out the window right now, it's 5:06 p.m. Eastern for those of you that are listening in different time zones. 5:06 Eastern as we record this show for the podcast and air live. And it is snowing again in Huntington. Hopefully, this won't turn into ice because I still haven't been able to get a lot of that ice off of my sidewalk, and I'm sure you're in that similar situation as well. So I'm hoping the weather is going to be fine tomorrow, drivable at least for all of you heading into Huntington or heading through Huntington to go see the Herd take on Southern Miss. So if you're able to go tomorrow, I've got your tickets. And again, that's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So I've got Coach's comments. We didn't get a chance to get to them yesterday. They had their presser yesterday a little bit before I went on the air. So logistically, I couldn't get over to the presser and then get back in time and make sure that everything was ready to go. And we didn't get a chance to get that audio until after the show. So for those of you that maybe haven't heard Coach's full presser, we'll just go ahead. It's about 9 minutes. We'll run that here in a few minutes, give you a chance to hear his comments on the upcoming matchup with Southern Miss. And, of course, you've got Miami of Ohio. That's, of the two, the bigger matchup as far as the excitement level is concerned, right? The bigger matchup for me is Marshall versus Southern Miss because that's a conference matchup, and that's more important to me. Now, if Marshall can sweep and get 2 wins, this home stand, all the better for me. But we talked about it yesterday because a lot of people were hyping this thing up. That, hey, we're going to stripe the cam. This is a big game. And I'm all right with that. I'm good. Let's make it a big deal. 4 o'clock, Saturday, going to be a big deal. Striping the cam because you got a top 25 team coming into the Henderson Center. It's Miami of Ohio, a former rival from the Mid-American Conference days. And, of course, we had this love-hate relationship with Miami because the rivalry was good between the two schools. Charlie Coles was a heck of a coach. He was always fun, had that respect for Marshall, loved getting after the Herd, but at the same time did have that respect for Marshall. And, of course, Charlie Coles was probably the bane of Greg White's existence for many years in the Mid-American Conference. So there's a lot going on there, but I have a thing with Southern Miss. I'm not sure if Southern Miss has kind of morphed into a bigger rivalry for me. Overall, the Herd leads this series. Marshall leads the series 17-12. And Marshall in Huntington has beaten Southern Miss 12 times, only 2 losses. In Hattiesburg, though, different story. This game's not being played in Hattiesburg tomorrow, but 9-3 is the advantage for Southern Miss. But at the moment, Southern Miss won the last time out against the Thundering Herd. But Coach Ladner is 1-4 against the Thundering Herd. And this one means a little bit more because we go back a ways here. Southern Miss, former foe of the Thundering Herd in Conference USA before the two teams left to come to the Sun Belt. And this is an interesting matchup here, and I believe it's either 11-2 or 12-2. I've got 2 different numbers looking at game notes. So all I know is that Marshall has dominated the series in Huntington, and so I'll get that stat corrected. But at the same time, with the Thundering Herd taking on Southern Miss, you go back to those Conference USA days, and this was a series that these teams got after each other. So I'm absolutely excited for this one tomorrow. I don't know if I should be more excited for this one than I am for the game against Miami. Maybe I will be once it's Miami time, but this one means something for me because, again, this is a program that Marshall has a current history with. Miami's sort of like, hey, remember when we used to go after each other? Well, we're back on the schedule. Let's go and have a good game. And that would be a game where you get a little bit more national pub if, and I mean this, if you can beat Miami on the home court, you might get a little buzz from it. It definitely would be, at least metric-wise, the biggest win on the season for the Thundering Herd. And so I will go on record in saying, yes, it's a big game. I just don't know if it's the biggest game of recent memory because I've seen it hyped. Hey, this is the biggest game since the NCAA tournament. No, I don't subscribe to that. This is a good game. It's a big game. But is it really the biggest game on the schedule for the Thundering Herd this year? I don't believe so. All right, we're going to get your text in. That's 304-396-TALK. 304-396-8255. That is the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. We're going to hear from Coach Jackson, get his comments on the week ahead. We're also going to hear from you. And again, that number one more time, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Going to give you a chance to win tickets to go see the Herd take on Southern Miss. That is coming up tomorrow at the Cam Henderson Center. And so I'll make you a winner. If you want the tickets, all you have to do to enter is be a part of today's show. When we continue, comments from head coach Cornelius Jackson, and then we'll go full tilt on the text line on this edition of The Drive. ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
Injured in a wreck? Warner Law Offices is now here for you in Huntington on 4th Avenue across from the courthouse. Personal, local, decades of experience.
Call 345-6789.
Cold weather's on its way, and what do you want on those cold, chilly evenings? A warm blanket and a hot cup of cocoa. Well, you know who else wants the same comfort? Mice. Messy, uninvited guests. They sneak in and leave droppings, chew through your food and packages. Don't let mice take over your home this fall and winter. Call K&B Pest Control. We will kill for your business. Call today, 304-523-4281.
Our Kindred Communications family of stations reminds you of the need for blood donations to the Red Cross. Blood is always needed. It may save your life or the life of a loved one. This reminder is brought to you in part by
Best Deal Equipment, the best deal on farm and industrial equipment. Tractors, skid steers, excavators, and dozers with on-the-spot financing. 5000 Ripley Road in Collegeville, West Virginia. Wolf Mountain Entertainment of Pomeroy, Ohio. Bringing Main Street magic to you.
In honor of all those we've lost to cancer and those still fighting and thriving, like basketball analyst and cancer champion Dick Vitale.
I want to beat cancer. I'm going to beat it. That's no doubt in my mind. I'm going to win this battle.
Defeating cancer will take all of us. Join our team to help fund game-changing research that saves lives. At the V Foundation, V is for victory over cancer. V is for victory over the odds. V is for victory over health disparities. Victory over setbacks. Victory over the unknown. V is for victory over giving up.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
Join the V Foundation team and help save lives.
Cancer can take away all my physical abilities. It cannot touch my mind, it cannot touch my heart, and it cannot touch my soul.
Join our team in the fight against cancer at V.org.
You're listening to The Drive with Paul Swann on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
We continue on with your Tuesday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930 with our text line at 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. I'm looking to make you a winner today. I've got a pair of tickets to go see the Herd take on Southern Miss. That's coming up on tomorrow's broadcast. We go on the air well, the show's at 5. We're going to go on the air at the game at 6, and then we'll tip things off around 7. And then I'll be right back after the game. Hopefully, we're talking about a win. We'll have coach's reaction and more with our post game. All of that, you start at 5 o'clock right here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. So we didn't get a chance to really touch on coach's thoughts on the upcoming week yesterday. Presser was a little before I went on the air, so I wasn't able to logistically get over there and then get it back here so we could have it for airtime. But I did promise we would hear it. And so I want to get all of his comments in its entirety. So I want your reaction after hearing what he had to say about the matchups ahead, Southern Miss, Miami, and of course, also he has, of course, some thoughts as well on how his team performed the other night. We've got all of that, Coach Jackson's comments, and then we will get your feedback. Here's what Coach had to say with his opening statement.
We have we obviously have a huge game on Wednesday against Southern Miss. You know, it's another conference game. It's the next game on our schedule, and it's another opportunity to protect home court.
Coach, you look back on Saturday, you kind of talked a lot about the bench performances already, but when you go back and look at it, just how good was it to get not only there, but at Texas State with Kai as well? A couple of good performances off the bench last
You know, that's been the thing with this team all year. Is we have the next man up mentality. Like you said, at Texas State, Kai came in and gave us a huge momentum shift. Gave us an opportunity, helped us get an opportunity to win the game, and then obviously at Arkansas State, Wilson had a huge game and showed us Shamari. So, you know, it's about staying ready. And those guys, you know, I've said it a few weeks ago, Wilson's shot wasn't falling like it normally falls, but he stayed in the gym. He started doing other things, hitting the glass, playing with energy, and the basketball guys rewarded him down in Arkansas.
Coach, did that shock you a little? Not shock you, but surprise you a little bit about how hot he got in that game, and you just kind of let him. You start to feel it. Wilson, we'll ask you about that in a minute. But
No, it didn't at all. I mean, he's a shooter, and that's why he's here. He's a high-level shooter, and it was just a matter of time. You know, it was a matter of time, and he put in the work. You know, he's first in the gym every morning. Him and Caleb and Bryce will show up a few times with him, but those guys are here every morning. Make or miss, he can go 0 for 8. But 6 o'clock in the morning, he's going to be in the gym shooting. So, no, it didn't surprise me.
For you, Wilson, how did that feel, man, just waiting for that kind of day to happen for you?
It felt great for sure. Just preparation, and like Coach said, I work hard, and it's just back to work, back to getting the mindset ready and focused for Southern Miss.
When you're on like that, do your teammates kind of consciously try to get it to you? Because, you know, when you're feeling it, you gotta feet on the ball, right?
Yeah, for sure, but also it's just the game plan. Arkansas State would trap a lot, which would leave them in rotations, and that's really where I got a lot of shots off of. And credit to Jalen, who had about 7 or 8 assists just off finding the right guy. That's the way we play basketball at Marshall, just team basketball.
Coach, building on that with Jalen, the game he had, you know, I guess the average person might think that it wasn't a good game, but really affected the game and stayed in and all that defensively, but the assists, obviously.
Yeah, after going back and watching it, you know, he made some really sound decisions. I thought the whole team did. You know, I thought we were poised against their trap. You know, we got the ball to the right places, to the right people. And you know, a guy like Jalen, who's used to scoring, who didn't score, but he had 8 assists. I want to say he had 5 or 6 rebounds, you know, and it was more about winning than his numbers, and that's when your team, you know, takes the step towards winning big, right? When it's more about the team than your personal accolades, you know. Jalen was just excited for Wilson as he was for Shamari. He was just excited for Bryce as he was, you know. So kudos to him, man. I didn't know it until after the game. I was doing radio and heard that he had 8 assists and he didn't score. I didn't even realize it throughout the game. But he was making the right play. He's grown since he's been here. You know, he came in last year and he was upside down assist to turnover for his career. He was a huge upside down guy, right? And now I think he's number 1 in assists in the Sun Belt. So kudos to Jalen, man, for taking the steps and growing in the process.
Does that kind of, Corny, validate what you tell these guys in practice, that it may be your day and maybe you're, you know, why I got in foul trouble, so it's some time for somebody else to step up?
Yeah, I hope it does. You know, we've been preaching it all year as a staff, just having the next man up mentality. We believe in each guy, 1 through 15, and you never know. You know, you never know when your number's going to get called. I called Kai's number. He didn't know. The coaching staff, nobody knew at Texas State. And I said, man, you know what? Those guys that was Kai's type of game. They were playing hard. They were physical. They were being aggressive. So I'm looking on the bench, and I'm like, okay, who's that guy that can bring that, right? And it was Kai. The funny part about it is when I called his name, he kind of jumped, like he was surprised. But again, he's another guy, man, that just shows up and works and works and works, and you never know when your opportunity is going to come, and he was ready for it, and he, like I said, he changed the momentum of the game for us.
Wilson, when Coach even started the season, talked about, you know, recruiting winners and bringing people here, all the talent you guys have. How much does that kind of help when you have so many guys who are able to take on that mentality of, like, you know, it's, you know, my turn today, it might not be tomorrow, but I'm still going to work and put in all that kind of effort, right?
Yeah, it's great. That's what goes into winning, really, and stringing together wins and staying disciplined and focus on the next game and not buying into the hype that you see all over social media and stuff. It's just about focusing on your craft and how you can impact the game when you get the opportunity, for sure.
And it's one of those deals, right, in the recruiting process. That's why you look for guys with high character, right? Because not a lot of guys will put the team over themselves, right? They think about themselves first, and then it's the team. Well, we're doing the exact opposite. We want to think about the team first, and then yourself. You know, a few years ago we had a team with Tavion and those guys, and you know we preached all the time, just play the right way. Once we win, everybody get rewarded. And at the end of the year, we didn't win the title, but we had Player of the Year, we had Freshman of the Year, we had First Team All-League guys, we had all kind of awards at the end of the season. So that's the mindset that we're instilling with these guys. It's more about the team. All right, it's more about the team, and you can see that. You know, when Wilson got hot, he started the second half. Caleb didn't pout one bit. The whole bench was up. Right, that's important. We watched film today, and showed 2 clips of the bench when Wilson hit threes, and that's when you start to become a really good team, when it's we over me.
Coach, do you, without looking too far ahead at Miami, obviously Southern Miss is first, but is this the kind of week, we're now into February, where you tell the guys this is when it happens right now?
Basically, we talked about that a little bit after practice. I mean, we're February, right? So you have February and then early March, and you know, the system's in place. They know what to do, and now it's about going out and executing. It's not going to get any easier. You know, Southern Miss, super physical team, experienced. Just beat James Madison. Again, we have another opportunity to protect home court. Thought we had a pretty good practice today. We'll look to having the one tomorrow to give us opportunity to win on Wednesday.
Same question for you, Wilson. This is go time, right?
100%. And if you want to be extraordinary, you got to do the extra. And I think that's where a lot of the guys are really getting it. We're staying after practice, getting more work in, coming in the evenings, coming in the mornings, getting more work in, and just focusing on the wins for sure.
One more about Southern Miss with the guy they've got. I think he's number 2 in scoring in the league. Just matchup he presents and what you see out of them.
He's a matchup problem, you know, because he's playing the 4, but he's really a guard. But he's crafty. He gets to the free throw line a ton. He shoots almost 7 free throws a game. He takes the majority of the shots. They run a lot of actions for him. So he's a guy that we have to pay heavy attention to and make him score over us and not necessarily around us. He's kind of unique. He doesn't shoot a whole bunch of threes, but he's a good finisher, good passer. He has big time toughness. So again, it's going to be a team defense thing on him. You know, we have to really lock in on him, but they also have good cutters. All right, so when he's backing down or when he's facing up, playing one-on-one, they also have some guys to cut. So big team defensive game, big awareness game. You have to see your ball in the man, and then when the ball goes up on the glass, you got to go get it.
According to you, a big week for both games. The home court advantage is going to be huge. You guys need everybody to get over here with the weather.
Oh, my goodness. We got to protect home court starting on Wednesday. All right, we have a huge game on Wednesday. Why? Because it's the next one. I know sometimes people tend to look past the next game because you have a top 25 team coming in here. And I don't think we've had a top 25 team since middle. My first year here, 17-18, they were ranked when we played them here and at middle, I believe. So, you know, almost 10 years ago. So it's a huge week. You know, we say it all the time, there's no home court advantage without the people. I don't care where you play. I don't care how good you are. If you don't have people at the games and if they're not excited, if they're not into it, you don't have a home court advantage. So hopefully, you know, we have a packed house on both nights. You know, I want it. That's the goal. That's the vision. We want packed houses on both nights. We want people fired up, energetic. We want to put Marshall basketball, Marshall University on full display.
Same for you, Wilson. Same kind of answer, pretty much.
Yeah, 100%. I think Coach said it a couple weeks ago. We got the best crowd in the Sun Belt, and I've been able to experience it this year. It's been great. But like you said, we've got to focus on the next game, be where our feet are, and just focus on getting better.
Comments from head coach Cornelius Jackson and Wilson Dubinsky. The Thundering Herd getting set for Southern Miss on Wednesday. And we've got tickets for that game. 304-396-TALK is our text line to be a part of today's show. That's how you enter to win. 304-396-8255. And, of course, the game on Saturday will be Marshall against Miami of Ohio. Big week. You heard Coach Jackson. He wants both days to be packed houses. I agree with him. If you're getting excited for Miami, you should be getting excited for Southern Miss because it's the next Marshall basketball game. And to his point, yeah, it's been a while since a top 25 opponent came into the Henderson Center. By no fault of anyone, just how the schedule works out. But sure, you want to put your best foot forward. You want to look good on TV. You want to make sure that the place is rocking and it's tough on Miami coming in. And you're hoping that maybe this is the game that Miami loses, an undefeated team potentially coming into the Henderson Center to play the Herd. Marshall able to knock them off and get a win against a ranked opponent. And that's going to look good for Marshall. But you got to get past Southern Miss first, and that's the game tomorrow. We'll get your text, 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 on this edition of The Drive, ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Metro Community Federal Credit Union now brings you all the tech that big banks have, but still has that personal touch of a member-owned community credit union. Apple Pay? Got it. Digital wallet? Yep. Message pay by text, online loan payments, even chatting with a real person, not a bot. Open accounts, sign documents, and manage your money all online. It's the big bank tech you need from the local community-minded credit union you trust. Metro Community FCU. Visit metrocommunityfcu.com today.
Save big money at Menards and stock up on your favorite Procter & Gamble products. We carry quality products from brands you can trust, like Dawn, Tide, Bounty, and more. Keep your home clean and stocked with essentials like paper towels, toilet paper, dish soap, and more. Save big money on Procter & Gamble products now through February 8th. Plus, check out our weekly flyer for other great deals happening now.
Save big money at Menards.
Super Bowl 60 is February 8th, and you can catch the big game on this station and all Kendrick Communications radio stations. Coverage begins at 5 p.m. Super Bowl 60 is presented locally by Sandy's Racing and Gaming, your place to watch, bet, and win big. Don't miss a moment of the action. Super Bowl 60 on all 6 Kendrick Communications radio stations.
Welcome back to Winter Hack Radio, the place for clever hacks to survive the season. Icy driveway? Well, try spreading sand or birdseed to help with traction. Snowy puppy paws? Well, grab a whisk, brush it off, done. Catch COVID-19? Well, just get...
Actually, there's no hack for COVID-19. But if you test positive, prescription medications for COVID exist. Ask your doctor if they're right for you. Visit PfizerForAll.com to learn more. Sponsored by Pfizer.
For the safety of students, families, and teachers, schools across our country are closing.
School closures can have significant and lasting consequences, particularly for vulnerable students who may face hunger, homelessness, and even trauma.
That's where our organization, Communities in Schools, can help. For years, we've had caring adults inside schools, helping these students stay in school.
Now, we are taking our work beyond the school walls. Our caring adults are delivering meals, providing household supplies, connecting kids with online classrooms, and using technology to maintain the one-on-one relationships we know can transform the lives of students and their families.
Communities in Schools, going wherever we are needed, doing whatever it takes to empower students to succeed in school and in life.
To see how you can help kids succeed, visit communitiesInschools.org.
My dad, he's a double amputee, and he's one of my favorite people in the world. To me, a hero is someone who fights for our country and freedom. My dad is a hero. Homes for Our Troops built this house, and it's basically made for him. My dad can get through the wide doorways. When he is making our lunch, he can reach anything we need. He'll help me build tiny projects. Life is good here. Without Homes for Our Troops, we'd be living in a home that didn't have all these features that helped him.
Homes for Our Troops builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans and enables them to rebuild their lives.
If they get a new house like this one, it'll help them do normal life. My dad's not just a hero, he's my hero.
Join our mission at hfotusa.org.
Hi, I'm Dr. Kathleen Eubanks Ming with the American Academy of Family Physicians. Bullies use power, strength, or popularity to hurt others emotionally or physically. And while you can't be with your child all the time, there are ways you can help. If your child encounters a bully, tell them to get to a safe place and tell an adult. You can also show them how to block online bullies. Teach them they can be more than a bystander and that they can help their peers. For more on bullying, visit familydoctor.org or talk with your family physician.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Follow at Paul Swann on X for Marshall sports updates and more.
We continue on with your Tuesday edition of The Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Text line is open. It's 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Thundering Herd getting set to take on Southern Miss. That game tomorrow. We go on the air bright and early in your evening. 5 o'clock with the show. The Drive's going to be over at the Henderson Center. So we'll do the show from our usual perch, and then we'll tip things off with our preview at 6 o'clock. Get things tipped off a little bit after 7. Post-game will follow that. We're looking forward to hopefully a Marshall win against a team that offensively, Marshall should have the edge against. Southern Miss comes into the contest with a recent win against James Madison. You heard Coach allude to that, 73-65. But Southern Miss, prior to that, had lost 5 straight. Lost against Troy, and Troy's no slouch. Lost against Texas State, and we know Texas State, good times and bad times, depending on where that team is at. And so that was a road game for Southern Miss. So we know Texas State's good at home. Georgia State got the win, and we know that Georgia State's a little bit better than what its record was when it came into Huntington. And then it got a loss at Coastal Carolina, came back home to App State, lost that one, then picked up the win against James Madison. So 5-5 for January. Not the best, not the worst, but got the win against James Madison. So a little momentum going on the road to take on the Thundering Herd. And then after this one, Southern Miss has got a really nice February. It's on the road after the Marshall game next on February 24th. So 4 straight at home, and then 2 road games before the Sun Belt tournament. And Marshall, on the other hand, nice mix, I think. Yeah, home, away. But 4 straight at home. So this is an opportunity for Southern Miss to kind of start picking up some wins. 6-6 in Sun Belt play, 12-12 overall. Thundering Herd coming into this one 14-8, 6-4 in league play. So here's an opportunity for Marshall to continue to stay among the leaders in league play with this one. And then, of course, on Saturday, everybody's out of league with the MAC Sunbelt Challenge. Overall series, the Thundering Herd leads 17-12. I did the math because I've seen it a couple of numbers. I saw it was 11-2. And then 12-2 in the same game notes. So I went back and just double-checked. It is 12-2. That's Marshall's record in Huntington against Southern Miss. So Marshall has pretty much owned this series at home. In Hattiesburg, it's been a little bit more of a contested battle. Thundering Herd up against Jay Ladner in his 7th season at Southern Miss, 88-123. He's only beaten the Herd 1 time in 5 attempts. Career record at Southern Miss, 164-2. Career record overall, 164-211. My apologies, 12 seasons. But in 7 seasons at Southern Miss. He is 88 and 123. That's a tough mark. Tough to win at Southern Miss? I wouldn't have said that a few years ago because Southern Miss was pretty good. I do remember Southern Miss being pretty good for stretches, but not this year. It's middle of the pack. And collectively, over the last few years, it's not been that strong. Marshall comes into this one with a scoring advantage. Marshall's averaging over 80 points a contest. Southern Miss comes in scoring a little over 73. Marshall giving up 74 contests. Southern Miss is giving up 32. Check that. 33.2 a game. And so Southern Miss is on the positive side of the scoring margin, but by only 0.3. The Herds a plus 6.1 on scoring margin. What really matters is how well this team performs when it's out on the court. Shooting 449 compared to the Herds 461. 3-point advantage belongs to Marshall. Marshall's shooting 36.8%. Southern Miss is only managing 28.6. Free throws, almost dead even. 73.6 for Southern Miss, 73.5 for the Thundering Herd. We've seen teams come in against the Thundering Herd and shoot much better against Marshall, especially from the free throw line. Defensively, about even on the boards, 26.9 for Marshall, 25.6 for Southern Miss. Assists belong to Marshall, 17 there, 11.5 for Southern Miss. Turnovers about even, 12.4 for Marshall, 12.7 for Southern Miss. Blocks, 5.7 on average for the Herd, 3.7 for Southern Miss. These are stats. What's it mean in context? Well, we know Marshall is streaky from the three-point line, but it can, when it gets hot, put up a lot of three-point shots. Marshall likes to put up a lot of points. This Southern Miss team maybe winning a little bit more on defense than it does on offense, but you look at some of the losses. It lost 70-63 to App State, 85-67 to Coastal, lost 69-62 to Georgia State, lost 74-67 to Texas State, lost 91-65 against Troy. So low scoring for Southern Miss. It just doesn't put up a lot of points. And if you're looking for offense, this is not the game if you're thinking it's going to be back and forth. I think Marshall wins this one based on offensive production. I think that's what's going to happen here. This will be a good defensive team possibly coming in here, and it's going to challenge Marshall, but I just don't think this is going to be a game where Marshall can't go cold again. Marshall comes in to this one. I think the offensive potential is there. We've seen it. When Marshall's shooting well, it's fine. If this one's going down to the free throw line, turnovers, things like that, that's when I get to become a little bit more concerned. Texter says Marshall needs to start stacking wins and gain some consistency by focusing on Southern and not looking ahead to Miami. That's a good point. I appreciate the thoughts there. Next game's the most important game. Next game is always the most important game. And the next game is also a conference game. The game against Miami is an opportunity for you to go out of conference against a highly regarded team, top 25 team. That's going to be a nice little boost for you, but your focus has got to be win this Southern Miss game, then put it all in against Miami, and then after that, just dump out, reset, go right back into the schedule because you got to win in your conference, and that's where Marshall's going to need this game. If Marshall loses to Southern Miss and wins against Miami, I'll be happy for the win against Miami, but I'll be disappointed. If Marshall loses against Miami and doesn't look bad, and Marshall wins against Southern Miss, I'll be less disappointed because Marshall at least got the win where it mattered most, and that was the conference win because we need to see Marshall, as the texter said, stack wins, get to that point where it's got momentum, it's getting hot, and you get into that tournament play, you're not playing as many games. Whatever happens, You could get hot. You could win the tournament. You don't have that far of a path to get to the championship game. And then, who knows? You can get hot at the right time. I don't think Miami would kill that momentum. I think Southern Miss would dampen it just a little bit because that's a loss that stings more. The loss to Southern Miss would be more damning than a loss to Miami, in my mind. That's how I would look at this weekend. Get them both. You want to win them both, but the most important one right now is the first one. That's Southern Miss. Then you focus on Miami, and then get into the rest of the conference, try to get those wins, get to the tournament. If you're able to get 1, 2, 3, or 4 seed, I think you're looking good. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We got plenty of time for your text, and we're going to make one of you a winner today for a pair of tickets to go see the Herd take on Southern Miss. That's coming up tomorrow. If you can't go, let me know, but if you can, let me know as well, and your text, and we will select from the people that text in after the show. It's completely random. Sometimes we let the guy outside the door pick, but if you can go and you want to be entered for the text to win contest, let me know when you message me on the text line. That's all you have to do. More coming up on today's edition of The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930.
At Poca Valley Bank, a handshake can still mean the start of a great relationship. We've been greeting customers with a handshake since 1908. Why settle for less? If you're purchasing your first home or planning for your future, Poca Valley Bank is here to support you with personalized service and local expertise. They are your trusted advisors. Why settle for less when you can experience banking with a team that truly cares? Poca Valley Bank, where relationships matter. Visit PocaValleyBank.com. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Stuck in a state of falling behind, struggling to keep up with kids, finances, insurance, and life? Well, let your State Farm agent help you simplify and get to a better state. With State Farm handling your auto, home, and life insurance, you'll have more time to handle everything else. More money, too. Adding State Farm policies can earn discounts that could add up to 40%. Help you get ahead. Call an agent today and get to a better state with State Farm. In Huntington, Ray Crabtree, 304-736-8181. In Milton, Russ McRae, 304-743-9318. And in Lavalette, Jason Elkins, 304-529-7555.
Here's another Kindred Community Chatter brought to you in part by Secure Construction Company in Huntington. Whatever your roofing needs, they take care of everything. Secure Construction is home improvement in secure hands. SecureConstruction.com. The Marshall University Volunteers in Therapy Pro Bono Clinic, located on the Marshall campus, provide free physical therapy to those that don't have insurance or have exhausted their PT benefits. They're open 2 afternoons a week. Phone 304-696-2399 to set up an appointment.
Naughty But Nice has reopened in a new location, 1336 Greenup Avenue, Ashland, Kentucky. Same products, new location for all your adult needs. Stop by our new location, 1336 Greenup Avenue, Ashland.
The future depends on teachers. Every day, teachers are shaping our tomorrows, starting their students on journeys that will change the course of history. Right now, in a classroom somewhere in the United States, there's a teacher inspiring a future scientist who will make preventing pandemics their life's work, sharpening the mind of an aspiring environmentalist who will help combat climate change, and generating possibilities for a student who will be the first in their family to graduate college. It all starts with teachers who meet challenges with creativity, who reinvent education for the future, who work towards a school system that lifts up every child, regardless of race, income, or zip code, and to enable the full potential of our students, our communities, and our country. Explore a career that leaves a legacy you can be proud of. Shape the future. Teach. Learn more and receive free support at teach.org.
11-year-old Hazel lives in a place that's rich in many things, but not money. As a young child, her job is to play, grow, and learn. But for kids like her in the world's poorest places, poverty gets in the way. There was a time when Hazel had to trek more than 2 hours every day to collect water from a dirty river. Once, when she got a life-threatening infection and her mother had no money for a hospital, Hazel nearly died. But thanks to Child Fund supporters, Hazel and her community now have clean drinking water and access to healthcare. And Hazel has a better chance to fulfill her potential. Child Fund works in 24 countries to make sure children grow up healthy, educated, self-sufficient, and safe, wherever they were born. Why? Because Child Fund knows the promise inside every child is greater than the poverty around them. Learn more at childfund.org.
I've got a math question for you. When you add tolerance, subtract prejudice, and multiply efforts to treat one another with respect, what do you get? Less division. And school sports have it down to a science. Looking for an example of what can happen when we realize there's more that unites us than divides us? Look no further than high school sports in West Virginia.
This message presented by the West Virginia Secondary School Activities Commission and the West Virginia Athletic Directors Association.
Come alive with the forest. Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you. Brought to you by the U.S. Forest Service and the Ad Council.
This is The Drive on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Miss an episode? Catch it anytime on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts.
We continue on with this Tuesday edition of Your Drive here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. I'm your host, Paul Swann. Our text line this hour is 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. We're going to get back to the text in just a few minutes. I'm doing some research right now because a texter wants to know who's the last ranked opponent. And I think Coach said it. It was Middle Tennessee, I believe, that was the last ranked opponent that came in to the Henderson Center when I think that was like 10 years ago or so. I'm double checking that right now because, again, I don't want to tell you wrong. But I believe that's what is the last ranked team. But you got a big one coming up on Saturday. So a lot of people are going to be obviously excited for the game against a team from the MAC in the top 25. A team also coming in and undefeated. That's the thing, undefeated. And so when you look at what Marshall has to gain as far as the ability to get the win, not only do you get the win, you get the win and you boost your numbers up a little bit. Let's see, the last time Marshall played a top 25 team at home, and we got to go back a ways here. You know, Marshall's had some ranked teams on the schedule, but of course, if you look at neutral sites, of course, West Virginia comes up in the numbers. And because I wasn't looking that far ahead to this Miami game just yet. But let's see. West Virginia is definitely coming up on as far as Memphis. I think, unless I'm wrong, 2007-2008 season, Memphis was number 2 when it played Marshall, and Marshall lost that one 68-45. So that was a home game. Memphis was ranked, and then you look at the next season, nothing there. 2010-2011, Marshall played neutral game against number 21 West Virginia, and then 2012-2013, nothing there. 2014-15, neutral site game, number 22 West Virginia, and then number 25 Old Dominion. That was a 72-51 loss on January 8th, 2015. So 2015, 2009-10, that was a ranked game at North Carolina. I'm going to say 2015 is Old Dominion. 2016 neutral game against West Virginia, they were ranked 20th. Number 4 Maryland was on the schedule as well. It was a road game. 2016 at number 24 Cincinnati. 2018 season, 2019 season, nothing there. The 2020-21 season, that was a crazy year. You go to 2021. Obviously, we're getting into really recent memory. 22-23, nothing there. 23-24. At number 16, Kentucky. And then 24-25 season, you were at number 6, Purdue. So we go back, it's been a bit, and it was Marshall, 2007-2008, number 2, Memphis. That was a home game. And then number 25, Old Dominion, 72-51. That is on January 8th, 2015. So I hope that answered your question. If I missed anything, I'm sure that there are a lot of stat keepers out there. I will appreciate your texting, and we will get those in. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255. Texter says, Paul, the Sun Belt requires a weekly injury report for football. Do they require the same for basketball? I have not seen one. If there is one, it is kept really quiet. But no, I have not seen one. I have not even heard of one talked about as far as the Sun Belt is concerned. Football, yes. Basketball, completely different story. And I don't know if it's possible because you've got so many games so close together. I don't know if you can do a weekly because not everyone's on the same cadence. So you got a game on Thursday, then you got a game on Saturday. Okay, this person might be, maybe, who knows? Because I was curious about that early on, especially for the women's side of things with some injuries. But as of right now, I do not know of any push for an injury report for basketball. If that does change, though, we will give it to you. 304-396-TALK, 304-396-8255 is the number to be a part of today's show here on ESPN 94.1 and AM 930. Do you want an injury report for basketball? Would you like an injury report? I would say, sure, why not? Coaches probably wouldn't. And I've heard both arguments. One, transparency. Of course, you're in the portal era. You're in the NIL era. Hey, you're paying these guys a lot of money. Maybe not at the Marshall level, but you're paying these guys a lot of money. You should probably know about that stuff. And honestly, if you've got an injury report, and if you do it, and the other leagues aren't doing it right now, you've got this situation where Miami kind of knows, hey, we know who's injured, and the MAC's not letting you know because we're not putting one out. I can see that argument because coaches don't want to tell you everything. They want to keep it as close to the vest as possible. They don't like oversharing. They don't like telling you, okay, hey, we have to acknowledge this guy can play. Yeah, we got to do our very best. Got to keep him contained. We got to shoot well. We got to be consistent. We got to be all of these things. But they're not like, yeah, we're going to try to trap him, or we're going to try to force them to shoot outside. We're going to have to maybe double team him. We're going to possibly pack it inside, just make them try to shoot from outside, maybe try to keep them from shooting outside, make them beat us inside. They're not going to give us all those details, and because coaches don't want to tell you. And I get that. Because you really think Coach, I'm sure he likes me. If he doesn't, he hasn't told me, but Coach, I'm sure likes me, but he's not going to say, okay, Paul, here's how I am going to go about trying to beat Southern Miss. And X, Y, and Z. This is what I'm going to do. And I'm going to tell you, I'm going to tell everybody this. I'm going to tell you so you can tell everybody. No, they're not going to do that. But again, Injury report in football is kind of one thing. Once you get into the league play, and they do it only for league play as well. That's the thing right there. Everybody's on the same page here. Here's the injury report. And the quarterback's questionable. The wide receivers, maybe. But I don't know too many coaches that are pushing for injury report, short-term or not. I mean, you kind of know you don't have that big of a roster, so if you see a guy like Matt Van Komen walking around in a boot, you kind of know he's not going to be playing today. So there's that. I just don't think coaches like to telegraph that stuff ahead of time. Make them wonder, hey, we heard he was injured. Is he available? We're going to have to prepare. If we know he's out, we're not going to have to prepare for him. If we know he's a possibility, we're going to have to maybe account for him. I just don't know if injury reports are going to happen in college basketball the way we see them in other leagues, the professional leagues especially. But stranger things have happened. All right, don't forget, we're going to be back with you tomorrow. Marshall game at the Cam Henderson Center. I have got tickets. We're going to give one of you a pair of tickets here in just a moment. Another texter wrote in, and I love this one. Dodge the scouting report. It's all hands on deck. I love that. Yeah, forget the scouting report. It's all hands on deck. All right, that's going to do it. Thanks for everyone checking in. Back with you tomorrow. We're going to be at the Cam Henderson Center. If you miss anything today, you want to go back, you can listen to it. Or if you can't listen all the time live and you don't want to miss out, we've got a podcast for you. It's available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or our website, WRVC.com. Whatever you're using for your podcast player, you're probably going to find it there. Also, you can find me on social media. The best place is X at Paul Swann. Of course, I got a link there as well to some other networks that I'm on. There's so many of them. I try to be on where you're at. I'm trying to be where you're at. So let me know where you're at. And hey, if you're on Threads, you're on Blue Sky, let me know. I'll follow you because those are some new networks. So I know follow counts are low there. So if you let me know you're on those networks, I'll follow you back. Have a great night, everyone. We'll talk to you tomorrow from the Cam Henderson Center.
WRVC Huntington, W227BS Huntington, your flagship home of the Marshall Thundering Herd and The Drive with Paul Swann, ESPN 94.1 FM and AM 930.